Often when I overhear harsh judgments about women, there's a recurring pattern in the way they're evaluated. A common theme is that people say, "I don't like her," or "I find her unappealing." So, today I want to talk about a concept that's well established in research, known as the likability paradox. This concept explains a tough situation that women often find themselves in. It involves three key issues. 1. Women are often seen as either too weak or too strong, but rarely just right. This reflects two cognitive biases: black and white thinking and overlooking the positive aspects. Essentially, women are forced into a binary, both extremes being negative. 2. The competence threshold. Women in leadership roles are held to higher standards while receiving fewer rewards than their male counterparts. 3rd, female leaders are typically categorized as either competent or likable, but hardly both at the same time. Today, we'll dive into research studies that explore these issues, and by the end of this discussion, I hope you'll understand why this fixation on women being likable is problematic. More importantly, we'll explore why it's crucial to reassess our approach, especially when we feel compelled to say we dislike a woman. Philosophically, I believe the opinions others hold about us shouldn't really matter. Everyone sees the world through their own lens, which colors their judgment of others. More often than not, their assessments say more about them than they do about the person they're evaluating. However, on a practical level, being liked does matter when it comes to success in life. When I talk about self-esteem, I emphasize that other people's opinions don't define us. But when it comes to getting ahead in life, I give advice on how to improve likability, because, unfortunately, being liked plays a significant role in how successful one becomes. This brings us to the issue of the likability paradox, which suggests that women who are more likable are often viewed as less competent, while women who are more competent are seen as less likable. Essentially, women are forced to choose between being seen as successful or liked, and unfortunately, both are necessary for success. This paradox ties into something called role congruity theory, which suggests that prejudice arises when there's a mismatch between an individual's gender role and their professional role. For example, women are often expected to be nurturing and agreeable based on their gender, but their jobs might demand that they be assertive and persuasive in order to succeed. So, women can either adhere to their gender role, maintaining likability but sacrificing career success, or they can embrace an assertive approach, boosting their career prospects, but being seen as less likable. This idea also connects to the backlash effect, which was first discussed by Redman in 1998. The backlash effect explains that women are penalized for succeeding in traditionally male-dominated industries. A groundbreaking paper published in 2002 shed light on the likability paradox, asserting that women face judgment not only because of their gender roles, but also due to the clash between their gender role and leadership role. The findings showed that women are less likely to achieve leadership positions, earn as much as men, or be promoted as quickly. Even when they reach leadership roles, their evaluations are far more critical than those of their male peers. Consider the treatment of female politicians as an example. Despite being qualified, well-prepared, and eloquent, they often face harsher scrutiny than their male counterparts. Men, on the other hand, are more likely to get away with making questionable remarks or having questionable qualifications while still winning elections. In a 2012 study, researchers revealed that women are already viewed as less competent than men, even when both have the same qualifications. In this experiment, science faculty members were asked to assess the application materials of students who were randomly assigned either male or female names. Faculty rated the male applicants as more competent and likely to be hired, even though the female applicants had identical qualifications. Interestingly, both male and female faculty exhibited this bias, suggesting that this issue runs deep in our societal frameworks. But what happens when a woman manages to defy the odds and achieve success despite these obstacles? In 2004, a study looked at the public's reaction to women succeeding in male-dominated fields. The study found that when women achieved success, they were less liked and faced personal criticism, particularly in industries like STEM, business, and politics. This backlash was much less prevalent in fields traditionally dominated by women, like social work or education. Another study conducted in 2008 explored the emotional responses to men and women expressing anger. It revealed that when men expressed anger, they were seen as more authoritative, but when women expressed anger, they were perceived as less competent. The study highlighted how emotions are often gendered. Men's anger was often attributed to external factors, e.g., bad day, family issues, while women's anger was seen as indicative of personal flaws, e.g., too emotional. This double standard reinforces the idea that women must always remain calm and composed to be taken seriously. What's interesting, though, is that when an external reason for a woman's anger was provided, e.g., she's upset because of an injustice, the bias was diminished. This finding suggests that if we stop to consider external circumstances when a woman expresses anger, rather than attributing it to her character, we can avoid some of the gender biases that are at play. In recent years, some workplaces have attempted to make leadership roles more inclusive by emphasizing traditionally feminine qualities like empathy and emotional intelligence. Unfortunately, as the 2002 study showed, this approach can sometimes backfire. In this study, women applicants for leadership roles were rated as less socially skilled than their male counterparts, even when both were equally qualified. And when the job descriptions emphasized feminine traits like empathy, women were even more likely to be penalized. The issue here is that women are held to a higher standard of niceness. Men can be assertive and disagree with others without being judged as harshly. In contrast, women who express disagreement are often seen as less likable. For instance, I recently made a video reacting to a viral trend of women discussing why they don't have friends. Most of my response was empathetic, trying to understand the root causes behind the issue. But I did express some disagreement with certain aspects of the conversation. One person left a comment saying I seemed condescending when I disagreed. This perfectly illustrates how, when a woman expresses dissent, she's often labeled as unlikable, even if the disagreement is minor. The underlying issue is that society expects women to always be agreeable. Women are pressured to avoid expressing strong opinions or taking firm stances, which limits their power. While traits like empathy and cooperation are valuable, forcing women to prioritize these at the expense of assertiveness doesn't help them. It only reinforces the existing power imbalances between men and women. So, what can we learn from this research? The first takeaway is that we need to start looking inward whenever we find ourselves disliking a woman. Both men and women are susceptible to ingrained biases. If the person we're judging were a man, we might not feel the same way. When we feel negativity towards someone, it's an opportunity for self-reflection. Are we expecting women to always be agreeable in order to be respected or believed? Are we projecting our own insecurities onto them? Do we feel threatened by their success? Once we take responsibility for our own reactions, we should approach the woman with more empathy. Instead of labeling her behavior as a flaw, we need to consider what external factors might be influencing her actions. Another important lesson is that we need to stop setting impossible standards for women. It's unfair to expect them to be universally likable or universally competent. Women shouldn't be judged solely on their likability or competence, but on their objective qualifications and skills. Research shows that we tend to like people who are similar to us, or who make us feel good about ourselves. This means our personal biases often influence our judgment. To be fair, we need to focus on objective traits and not our subjective feelings. In conclusion, the idea that someone could never make me like them should be something we leave behind. We need to reevaluate how we assess people, especially women. So, what do you think about this issue? How do you feel about the research? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.